I'm not someone who's had sex, I'm not someone who masturbates. Those are just not things that are interesting to me. They're not things I've ever had a desire to do. I remember once in maybe year 5 or year 6, my friends were talking about like, oh, which boys do you have a crush on? And I was like, I don't really have a crush on any of them. I mean, this one's nice to me, so I guess I like him. And that was kind of how I looked at it. I didn't ever feel like a crush or like an excitement to be around any of these boys, but I was like, well, this boy is nice to me. That must mean I like him and I have a crush on him. But that was just someone being nice to me. And I look back at that and I really picked that up as an early sign of my asexuality, because I just didn't experience these childhood crushes in the same way that everyone else used to. There were times where like you have your little like teenage relationships. I didn't really have any, really. I had one where I was like kind of close to a guy and people were like, oh, have you kissed yet? And I was like, no, I don't want to. Why would I want to? And that's when I first heard the word frigid. I heard that same girl who asked me at the very beginning of year 7, oh, what boys do you like? She was like, oh, you're just frigid. And I was like, I don't know what that even means. And now I look back and I'm like, well, it's just something I don't want to do.
Did you feel different when people were talking about their own experiences?
I did feel different. I felt like everyone kind of knew something that I didn't. When I went to college and like sixth form, that was when I really felt different, because that was when everyone was exploring everything. They were exploring getting drunk for the first time. They were exploring like having first times, different genders, stuff like that, different identities as well. That was when I first really felt different.
Can you describe exactly what asexuality is and means?
Asexuality is defined as not experiencing sexual attraction. That just means that that's just not a part of my brain that clicks in the same way it does for everyone else. Some asexual people can still have sex, some don't. Some don't mind. If it makes their partner happy and it's something they want to do, then that makes them happy as well. For me, sex is just not my kind of thing. I think it's a little bit icky, but asexuality is just not experiencing sexual attraction.
Have you had sex before yourself?
I have not had sex, no. I'm not someone who's had sex, I'm not someone who masturbates. Those are just not things that are interesting to me. They're not things I've ever had a desire to do. I just kind of forget they exist sometimes.
So how do you feel towards sex then, on a whole?
I don't get it. It just feels icky. Why do you want to like do that? That's how I feel when I kind of think about it. I'm not completely closed off to the concept of having sex in the future if I was very comfortable with a romantic partner, but I feel like I know on a fundamental level that I would not enjoy it, and if I tried it once, that would be the only time I ever had sex, because I just feel like it's not something I would enjoy. Not all asexual people identify as aromantic. So, for example, myself, I identify as asexual and biromantic, which means I experience romantic attraction to 2 or more genders. In a film, like a rom-com or something like in Love Actually, you've got all of the cute little date stuff, the dancing at a party, the holding hands, the maybe like little peck on a cheek, stuff like that. That is like the romantic attraction. And then as soon as they go back to the person's flat and it starts to get like more intense, that's the sexual attraction. I like the first bit. I like the dates and the holding hands and just the romantic intimacy, but not the sexual stuff. That's how I've always described the distinction between the two.
Have you been in a romantic relationship before then?
I've dated. I've not been in any romantic relationships, but I have dated. I've dated a little bit a couple of years ago, but I don't experience romantic attraction very often, so it takes me a while to kind of get that butterfly feeling. So I've only dated a little bit.
So it was your friend that you came out to first?
me and a couple of other friends were talking about their sexuality, stuff like that. They were talking about, oh, I'm gay, I don't really know many other gay people. There was one of our friends saying, oh, a lot of people think I'm straight, I'm just like a bit flamboyant. And at this point I was the resident straight gal because I hadn't come out. If you don't come out, you're straight, apparently, that's how it works. It just clicked in my brain. It was like, oh, there's an option to just not have to find anyone. And that's okay. And I came out to my best friend at the time maybe a month after that, and that was when I'd like just started college. So it all really happened when I was like 16. It felt really nice to mention it to someone. And I think I made a tweet about it maybe a month after that, so October of 2015. And I didn't come out to my family for another couple of years, but just knowing that I could now talk about this stuff on Twitter, the endless void, just felt really good that I didn't have to hide this stuff. I could ask questions if I wanted to find other people who felt the same, and it was just a really freeing feeling.
What sort of questions are you asked?
I'm often asked questions like, how do you know you haven't met the right person? How do you know if you haven't tried it? How do you know that you've not just had bad sex in the past? Stuff like that. Or sometimes people say that, oh, you're just identifying that way because you've had some kind of sexual trauma in your past, which is not the case. I'm lucky enough to have not dealt with something like that, and that has not affected how I identify as an asexual. And then you get comments just saying, oh, it's a phase, you'll grow out of it, you're just a late bloomer. I hate being told that I haven't met the right person yet, because you have so many people who are in relationships that are just the wrong relationships for them, and they don't have to be waiting for the right person to know that they enjoy sex.
Can you tell us about what you do to help educate others on asexuality?
I talk about asexuality on my YouTube channel and often on interviews and panels in LGBTQ plus spaces or at universities. I basically just try and make the content that I would have wanted to watch when I was coming out. There was content on asexuality on YouTube when I was coming out when I was 16, but there's definitely been a gap, and I hope it's a gap that I have filled. But I just try and talk about asexuality as it is. I try and represent my experience, but also hopefully give light to other people's experiences as well. And the kind of comments that I get on YouTube are the exact kind of comments that I left when I was coming out as asexual. This is how I feel, this is so nice to see someone else put it into words. That's what I try and do. I think just by being so openly proud about my sexuality and open to answering questions, I've helped friends and people I don't know as well just learn more about their sexuality and be more proud of themselves, or at least that's what they have told me, and it's something that I'd love to continue to do.
I knew when PE or something was going to come up, I knew that, the girls were going to start, I wasn't allowed to get changed with them in their changing room or anything, because even though, like, I say clitoris, I say that loosely. My clitoris is basically like a small dick.